Right, the Dexter Avenue Baptist Church. This was built in 1888, but in the early 1950s, when Dr. Martin Luther King was living in Montgomery, he was the pastor here, and it was from this pulpit that he started the civil rights movement. Up ahead of us, we have the state capitol of Alabama. This is the Capitol building. We give tours of Montgomery. We give historic tours as well as shopping tours. And when we have a tour, we usually make 3 stops when we have a bus tour. Our first stop, I like to do it in chronological order. And our first stop is the Ordman Shaw House. As you know, it was built in 1850, and it's an Italianate house. So we stay at the Shaw House, and I usually show them around and tell them the future things that are going on too, such as the log cabin that's been moved into the area. I think the log cabin is really a great addition to the complex because it shows graphically the early way that people lived when the state was first settled in 1819, 1820, and then you look at the Ordman Shaw House, which is really quite an elegant building. And you see how far people had come by 1850. And I think that in itself is just an amazing accomplishment. And really on our tours, we try to show lifestyles by pointing out buildings. For instance, I think that people are mostly unacquainted with the Italianate style of architecture.
There's a lot of that here in Montgomery.
Yes, yes, there is. Really by the 1850s, the Greek revival, the fashion of Greek revival was diminishing, and there was more Italianate, and also we have a number of raised cottages. And I don't think people realize how important an Italianate house is. I don't know, I think they sort of feel, well, if it doesn't have columns, if it isn't Greek revival, it really isn't worth seeing, which of course isn't so, though we do have a couple of very pretty Greek revival houses here. So we do show them the Ordman Shaw House and tell them a way of life by showing them the parlor and the fact that Ms. Ordman would have entertained in the afternoon. And did you know that the way it was done, this visiting was done, was that a woman would have in her set or in her crowd a certain day, a certain afternoon that she would be home, and people would come and see her. Say it was on Thursday afternoon, and then the other afternoons she would go in her carriage and go see the other people who had their own afternoons.
It was all centered downtown in the downtown area, wasn't it?
That's right. Old Montgomery was downtown. Montgomery was a marketing town. It was never, you know, plantation land. There is the Thomas House that's, you know, on the south side of Montgomery. Of course, that was plantation, but that wasn't Old Montgomery at that time. It wasn't the downtown marketing section.
What are the next stops that you make on the tour?
We go to the Capitol, which is a gem, and I don't know if people realize the historical significance of the Capitol. But before we get to the Capitol and stop there, we go down Commerce Street and point out various buildings, such as the Central Bank, which is right by McMoney's Fountain, and also the Winter Building, which was the Southern Telegraph Company.
Now, where is Central Bank? That's Southern Money's, but what is that now?
It's now Klein & Son,
Oh.
Klein & Son Jewelers. And it was built by the same architect who designed the Capitol, Stephen Button. And it was at the Southern Telegraph Company, the Winter Building, that the telegram was sent by Jefferson Davis to fire on Fort Sumter, and of course that signaled the beginning of the war between the states. And so we talk about that usually on our tour and go to the Capitol and tour through the Capitol. And then from there we take a driving tour and we pass various houses on Washington and Laurel Street, which we point out, mostly for their architectural assets, and then we go to the governor's mansion.
Now, this is your basic tour plan then?
That is a basic tour plan.
I understand that you have an antique and boutique tour too.
Oh, that has proved to be very popular with quite a few groups. We make arrangements with shops according to the interest of the groups, and we visit around, and from antique and boutique, as you said, the handcrafts, and just anything that we find is unusual and kind of hard to find for the usual visitor.
Nan, I know one thing that you all have really emphasized a great deal and that you work on a lot, and that's the tours for youngsters. Are those all tours for kids in Montgomery or outlying areas, or what?
Well, from all over the state. We have worked with the State Board of Education in trying to get the word to the school children in all of the school systems that this guided tour of Montgomery, to show them what their state capital city is and the history of it in a uniformed, educational yet interesting way. And we started this in 1975-76 school year and had a good response. We would hope that we can have a lot more school tours come through. They come on their buses. We provide a guide who is well trained and interested in children, young people, and we take them through the Ordman Shaw House and to the state capitol, and then again a driving tour, so that they see their city through more than just a quick visit.
Tell me about some of the other tours. I know that you go up to
Jasmine Hill?
Jasmine Hill, yes.
That's a lovely tour to take in the springtime particularly, but this is we have taken groups there for a tour of the gardens, and making another stop either before or after to round out a day, because this is longer than a normal 2-hour tour and it's a little specialized. So depending again on the interests of the group, we would stop at an antique shop if we can, or some other interesting point of interest.
What would be special about the gardens?
Just the beautiful flowering trees and shrubbery in the springtime, but all year round they have the magnificent sculpture, and that are copies of the Greek and Roman sculptures, statues, and garden statuary, as well as the Temple of Hera, which is where the Olympic flame was lit each year, every 4 years rather, in Greece. And this is an exact replica of it with the reflecting pool.